unfortunately, Pope Francis passed last week. It was on the 22nd, right after Easter. He made it through. Beautiful Easter. People converting to Catholic in numbers we've never seen before. France, Europe in general, because with the things that are happening, for example, in Canada or things that are happening in
In
Europe,
Europe, it's
a
bad.
lot of young people are starting to look like, okay, these guys are organized. We need some sort of structure in our lives, some sort of structures. And once you have, I'm Muslim people. They're not enemies, but they've been enemies, especially of Europe, for a number of years. Like, let's say they did take over almost all of Spain.
A
all right?
number of years, he says, that was in like 1200.
Yeah, a number of years. They took over all over Spain. They took over part of Italy. So the defense of Western culture and values like sometimes become more active things. And I was reading an article about why people are converting. So that's not here nor there. So he passed, unfortunately, after after a beautiful mass that we had during Easter. Actually, RJ, our
HR.
HR head, was actually there.
He was there.
Yeah, he was actually
Is he
there.
a hardcore Catholic?
I don't know,
I mean,
but
why else would you be there? An
I
event?
I can't comment
Yeah.
on that. But
Good for
so
him.
let's go to the first slide. I'm gonna be pointing out some interesting facts
Okay.
and what's happening next. It was, this is a very weird, and it worries me a lot, Vinny, how articles are rewritten online. All right. So they launched the first article, like when Pope Francis passed, and then they use the same page and they rewrite the headline and they rewrite the article on top of it. Like I had something so common as like them announcing his death online, like to find an online article to get a screenshot. I don't know if it happened to you before. It was incredibly hard, because all the articles went from like Pope passes to what's happening next.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find any older articles, so I went old school and put out, the Guardians. I'm not a big fan of the Guardian, and they call him a groundbreaking head of Catholic Church. Pope Francis said at 88.
Groundbreaking.
I brought here a video of one of the rituals. This is a whole process. We're gonna go into the timeline for people at home to learn how this works and the timeline. If we go to the next video,
Well, I saw a movie called Euro Trip, and I know that they smoke the white smoke when they're picking a new pope. But I don't know if you're going to get to this. Jokes aside, I've heard that he's controversial, and that some people, even religious Christians, don't like him at all.
Black Smoke came out.
all right.
I believe.
That's
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Black smoke means they didn't pick anybody yet.
That's a very good question, and in America especially, or like on the Protestant, outside world of the Catholic world, they try to give popes political leanings, and there's two camps when it comes to Catholic leaders. You have Orthodox that they held scripture and tradition to the T, and then you have people that are more they stray away from it. This guy tried to make a lot of changes, and as a Catholic,
Were you happy about it?
I need to pray, like after he's passing, I need to pray for his soul to go to heaven, and that's what people don't understand. Like the Vatican is a kingdom, all right, and you're either part of it or you're not part of it. Like it has an elected monarch, that's a pope, but it is a kingdom and it's structured like a kingdom, all right.
Can't you argue, though, that God rejected this pope because the smoke wasn't objectively white? And there was a big argument whether or not it was white smoke or black smoke. So that's supposed to be the determining factor whether or not God accepts the pope. And it was a question whether or not.
And I mean, he was
A shitty pope.
He was.
Was
he
he not pro?
I'm
Was he not
Catholic and I'll happily
pro-abortion?
say he was a shitty pope.
pro-abortion?
Pro-trans and
he
pro-vaccine?
He wasn't pro-abortion at all. And
LGBT.
the thing is, it's funny because I see fellow conservatives bringing those points up, and I'm not blaming you guys for doing it, but it's funny how they trust mainstream media on all the reports for the Pope. They're obviously going to pick the things they like out of context because this create conflict. He's a intrinsically conservative figure that he's a head of a church, and the mainstream media will pick up all the things that can turn people against each other. So, like, if you grab him at face value, like, for example, the big news that he had dinner with some trans people that went there. And he didn't invite them over. They just showed up, and they
Isn't
made
that blasphemy?
they made it sound like he was the guy that called on the trans people to come there. They were just visiting. Like, anyone can go visit the Vatican. All
He
right?
should vehemently reject that and speak out against it if he's really upholding what the Bible says.
Well, his doctrine, every pope has a different doctrine. His doctrine about these things, he has like a public hospital approach to the Catholic Church. So he was focused on outreach, all right? He wanted the trans people to come in and then live a life of chastity, to not act.
Not hook up.
To not act on their actions. But he will open the church for everyone that wants to come as long as they obey by the rules. So that's why sometimes, and most of the time, all those things that make him look really liberal, which he was in his former life. Before he was a pope, he was very liberal, and he was a man of his time, all right?
It's a powerful position, though, and if you're not, like, fighting for what is good and for what we want, like anti-globalist, then you're not fighting the good fight.
He was born in 1936 in Argentina. The whole South America was taken over when he was growing up by socialist, communist revolutions. Like, people don't grow up in a vacuum, all right? He obviously is going to have a political leaning from his former life.
But you saw how bad that was. You'd think that would make him passionately fight against it.
But not to cut you off, Alberto, this is just ChatGPT. I just asked, what are some controversial actions that he did? Are these true or are these false? I want to know from you. So he blessing same-sex couple marriages in 2023. As a Catholic Pope, is that the Vatican formally approved blessings for same-sex couples in 2023? Mass failure to confront LGBTQ ideology head-on, pro-mass immigration messaging, and I mean, there's a list. A deal with the Chinese Communist Party. The Vatican struck a secret deal with the CCP, giving the Chinese government a say in appointing bishops. Conservative Catholics called it betrayal.
And the main one, I think, would be like being supportive of the COVID jab when vaccines in general and the jab also are made using fetal cells, which should be problematic.
All right, that's problematic, and he's not. I'm not saying he's perfect. He's still human. He's not a godlike.
But is he the say all? Like, if he decides, let's say, if you're a Catholic, old school Italian Catholics, and I know some of them, they were furious that he did it. Not by the way, I could care less.
I was also furious, but the other thing that you need to separate that his opinion when it comes to whatever concerns me, that is church and doctrine, is one thing, and his opinion outside, he's a human. Anything that he talks about the church or the doctrine of the church, you can get mad about that.
Blessed marriages.
Anything that is outside of doctrine, like he's another guy, like anything that is inside the Vatican that has to do with the Catholic Church, that's everyone's matter. Any of his opinions outside of that, popes have been appointed the weirdest ways. Like, there was a lot of nepotism, a guy was appointed because a dove landed on his head.
Yeah, I know. I remember that. A dove. So that's the guy.
So let's go.
It didn't poop on his head, so he didn't buy a lottery ticket. But they did pick him as a pope.
Let's go straight to the timeline of what's going to be happening and discuss some of the candidates so people are aware. That's the timeline. So basically, the pope dies, right? And the Carmagnolo, I think that's how you pronounce it. Like the guy that's in charge of all the business affairs of the Vatican gets put in charge. He needs to grab a silver hammer. They don't do this anymore, but he needs to grab a silver hammer and tap the Pope in the head 3 times.
Oh my God.
The dead Pope?
one?
Yeah, to make sure he's dead. Now, they haven't done that in a while, so they call him by his former name 3 times, and he needs to respond.
They just changed that?
No,
like the Pope before this Pope, did he get hit in the head with a hammer?
No more Pope hammers.
Some of these traditions, they go back and forth, and depending on the doctrine of the Pope, the decisions are being made. But the silver hammer is beautiful, right?
Keep it going.
So when he's dead, the first action is he has a ring in his hand. It's called the fisherman's ring, all right? With this ring, whenever he writes a letter or whatever, and this comes, probably 1,000 years, that he will seal the letters or the mandates with the ring. All right. So the ring, the first order of business is to destroy that ring. So he can't sign anything else anymore.
Wow.
All right. So they need to destroy the ring in front of other cardinals.
Got it.
All right. So that's the first. Catholics are mourning for 9 days, and they need to call a conclave. All right. You guys might be familiar with a conclave. You have it's 9 days of mourning, and then the College of Cardinals, they get locked in. This year they're gonna have signal jammers, drone jammers, RFD
Everything.
covering.
I saw the
everything.
guns that there was one drone jammer that looked like a freaking battlefield.
I actually thought that thing was like it shot magnetic
Me
discs.
too. I thought
like
so too.
pieces of metal
It's
through
for
magnetism.
drones. It's for knocking drones
Totally
out of the
cool.
sky.
So they locked them in, and this is funny. Last few popes has been 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, 2 or 3 days. 1 day for Benedict, 1 day for Pope Francis. That they sit there, they vote, and then the smoke brand that comes out, charcoal, it burns, black. So they will put the ballots. All right, so they get a piece of paper to vote, and it says, "I will vote for this person for the Pope," and they fill it in. It needs to have 2/3 to elect the Pope. All right,
Oh, there
and
it
whenever,
is.
there it is. And whenever they don't get the majority that they need, they will put. They just installed the chimney. Like it's not always permanent there. This
They
is
just
16
installed it?
chapel.
Nice.
And they put the ballots there and some coal, and then it goes black. All right, so it's a signal for the outside world because nobody's allowed in.
Wait, so they're controlling whether or not it's black
Yeah.
or white?
Yeah.
What?
They control it. Cause it's to let the public know because, brother, they're not showing it, they're
Nobody-
not airing it.
they're-
There's no
yeah.
communication to the outside world. That's their way of saying we haven't decided yet.
Could you imagine being on the inside of all of this very, very, I would say, like antiquated or at least specific ritual, like being behind and how seriously everyone
Oh,
was
brother, I would
taken?
put pink smoke just to mess with
No,
everybody.
no,
Like,
but if you look-
nobody knows.
If you look at the size of the Catholic Church globally, it's what, like 2 billion
2
people
billion
almost?
people.
The person who's in charge of making these decisions, it's incredibly influential. So I know there's a lot of and I'm not even Catholic, and I acknowledge this, that this is a very influential role in global politics, where there are heads of state that will listen to the recommendations of the person who takes
You're
this
right.
office.
So influential
yeah.
that they don't even allow people over 80 to vote, so they have to suffer through their decision. All right. So if they make a bad call, a bad decision, they make younger, basically anyone younger than 80 needs to vote. If you're over 80, since you're probably gonna die within the next 2 or 3 years, you can just vote and then just dip.
What's the most influential thing a pope has done in our lifetime, though? Because I really can't think of anything big.
Pope John Paul II, him
He's
and
the last good one.
and Ronald Reagan, they both worked together to tear down the wall.
Right, that's what I mean. But since then,
very influential.
Yeah, and he was a good pope. He's actually thought he was a good pope. But I'm not overly impressed with any of the popes of our lifetime. Have they done anything cool?
that's the thing, and this is the map. On this side, purple, pink, and red. That's conservative, and then blue and light blue. That would be liberal. They're parading some of the candidates. You need to know that this pope was leaning left, as you might appreciate.
Yep, he didn't like
but
Trump.
you need to. Pope John Paul II appointed most of the guys, being very conservative, that voted for this
use your
pope.
microphone.
Huh?
Into
Oh,
the
yeah.
microphone.
So-
So he appointed a lot of liberals.
No, Pope John Paul II.
Yeah.
He appointed mostly conservatives, and the mostly conservative people and God elected a mostly left-leaning.
Are they
pope.
like rhinos?
No, they were fully conservative. It was a different time of the church, and they elected this mostly left-leaning guy. So anything can happen now. So people that are making bets on the thing that I think is ridiculous,
Gambling.
they're
I
gambling.
want the
this.
black guy. to
Also,
win.
isn't it
How about the-
technically a sin according to Catholic
Gamble?
doctrine?
Well, it's not a
to
gambling,
to gamble on the outcome of the Pope.
You're investing in the.
It's also a sin to
likelihood of an
endorse
outcome.
LGBT marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
All right.
Well, hence why I'm not Catholic.
I heard the leading
but-
candidate was that
They
bishop who
contradict
gave the
themselves, too.
inauguration speech to Trump.
probably.
Bada bing, bada boom.
but
Hey-o.
I don't think he was Catholic. I think he was
Protestant.
Protestant. But anyhow, if you were wondering, anyone that is a Catholic technically can be pope. They don't.
Oh, sweet.
They don't need to be a cardinal or a bishop. They are, once they become elected pope, they're made into a bishop first and then into a pope, because the pope is a bishop for Rome. So they need to made into that. Other fun facts: if you see the guys with the outfits, that you're gonna see them the next few days, that's a Swiss guard. All right. That they're actually military, like hardcore military guys dressed in funny outfits.
Cool.
Um,
Like when me and Kelly went to the medieval
yeah.
medieval fair.
They live inside the Vatican.
She was my wench, and I was the knight. No, she was.
They
Here's
have
my wench.
They
It's a
have
funny
no
word.
contact, and then we're gonna get into the Trump thing. That was a big stink. The left-leaning media lying.
I love it.
Lying
He does
as
it on
usual.
purpose.
They're lying as usual. All right. And I looked this up. All right. First of all, I mean, personally, I would have worn a black suit. All right.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done. But the letter that they sent, it was like an appropriate attire for a funeral, and they say dark suit. They don't say black suit. All right.
Yeah.
So technically, he was in a dark blue suit. And this is the picture, these liars, they showed everybody. And once you zoom out, you see that Prince Charles was
12,
wearing...
a dozen people were wearing blue. Me and
Uh,
Jake were
the-
talking about.
the-
Look
the-
at how many blues are out
They're
there.
so
Oh,
funny.
there, yeah. Oh,
The
wow.
Arab dignitaries were wearing whatever they
Bro,
wear.
yeah, the freaking yeah.
Can you imagine when did the left criticize the right for making fun of attire about someone being
Barack Obama in the tan suit during
yes.
his press conference, and
I mean, there's such a bunch of freaking hypocrites, but liars
Viva.
at that.
Last funeral, when Obama was in power, he was a no-show. All right?
with Michelle.
Obama didn't show up to the Pope's funeral.
He didn't show
we
up
go-
to this. Well,
Can we go back to the photo?
Yeah.
to this one?
I don't know if you...
I didn't see him. Well, by the way, he's just been MI. All I've been seeing is Michelle with her amazing hair and her brother.
And her traps.
Weird.
Did Joe Biden go?
Oh yeah, he was in the back. He was
And
in the
did
back.
did Kamala Harris go?
I don't know if
Hell no.
Kamala.
I didn't see her.
well, it's important to point something out with Biden, and we don't discuss Biden often anymore because
He's
it
done.
feels like a bad dream. It feels like Biden hardly ever happened, but Biden is not a Catholic in good standing with the church.
Oh,
No.
of course.
During his presidential campaign, he was denied communion at like half the congregation,
Good.
half the churches he walked into
Good.
because of his stance on abortion. Because his stance on that issue counts as a mortal sin according to Catholic doctrine.
Yep.
The priest cannot, in good conscience, administer communion elements or really any other sacrament to him. So the fact that he showed up at the Vatican to mourn the Pope, it's like, well, they probably didn't have too great an opinion of you, buddy. But
Exactly.
whatever.
Well, when you sniff a bunch of.
This came out...
but
this
that's a time-honored Catholic tradition.
So, so I give Trump a break on the blue suit. All right, it was a dark blue suit. He does. Because I thought he only wore blue suits, but he did wear a black suit for a special event when he invited the black youth to the White House. That was the only occasion that I saw.
And that joke dinner too, the Al Smith dinner.
Yeah, but it's very rare that he wears a. He looks great on blue.
He's a gangster, bro.
But
Stefano Ricci.
this thing I didn't particularly like. Can you roll the tape?
Roll the tape.
As Pope? I'd like to be Pope. That would be my number one choice. No, I don't know. I have no preference. I must say we have a cardinal that happens to be out of a place called New York who's very good. So we'll see what happens.
Wants to be Pope.
Yeah.
What's wrong with him wanting to be Pope? Is he a Catholic?
No, he's not a Catholic. No,
I like that job, but because you know why he knows that is a very, very, very powerful position.
And for
I
until
bless everybody. I throw the water.
You just got to be careful, guys, because the last time we had a womanizing head of state who wanted to be Pope, we got the Anglican Church. So
Yeah. Now, to
careful.
defend Trump, like I think the first joke was in poor taste, but it was a good deflection for him to not have an opinion on it. So I think that joke that he made at the beginning,
Who's the cardinal out of New York that he's talking about?
I don't remember the name, but he's very popular.
Well, what about the black Pope with the glasses? That guy's
Robert
sick.
Sarah, that's my guy.
I love.
that's
he
that's
is-
my guy.
Is there a market for this? I'm gonna go to
No,
the
Yeah, you can bet on
Let's
it.
bet after this. I think I like that guy because his stance, his track record. He's anti, like over immigration. Dude, he's a
I
G.
presume there's never been a black pope before.
there have been
I
several.
think it's about
believe.
time. Oh, has it been black?
I mean,
popes?
there's been African popes. I
yeah.
don't see colors, so I want to comment. But there's been African popes. And can you go one back? So this is what it's going to look like if Sarah becomes pope.
Crusade.
Oh,
yeah.
who's that? Who?
All of us.
That's so freaking crazy.
Kingdom of Heaven meets Starship
Yeah.
Troopers.
So that's it for the Pope. So we're gonna have news soon, not later than 25 days.
Wait,
You're
20
anticipating a crusade if Robert Sarah becomes.
Yeah, I'm in it.
Which guy's Robert? Which one's that?
That's the.
That's the bishop for Guinea.
Who's the worst choice right now?
The guy's from the Philippines. His last name is Tagle. He's by far the worst, and he's leading as favorites.
What? Oh no! So same as like a Mark Carney type situation.
Like he's as bad as Cardi.
All right, so Grok, take it for what it's worth. No, there has never been a black pope. All popes have the
That's
Catholic Church
racist.
have been European or Middle Eastern descent, primarily
That's
from Italy or
racist.
other parts of Europe. Well, it has been while there have been 3 born in North Africa, Victor I, Metaldes, and Gelasius I. They were of Roman or Berber descent, not sub-Saharan African. The closest modern example might be figures like Cardinal Peter Turkson from Ghana, who has been mentioned as a potential candidate, but no black individual has ever been elected.
That's absolutely racist. I don't like it.
Well, I mean, Italians. It's been 217 Italian popes. Like,
Yeah,
you know.
I'm being funny with the racism, but I mean, I think it's time.
And Italians now they're white. After 9/11, they turn white now.
Yeah, they're all white. But all right. Well, so what date? What date do you think? What date do you think that we're gonna find out? And by the way, are people just hanging out at the Vatican right now outside, just with the
Yeah,
waiting for smoke?
Vinny, like it should take one day, but it could like the longest that it's ever gone through. It took 3 years. And the
3 years.
3
3
years
years without a pope.
3 years that they were electing the Pope.
Yeah.
And they went to a different town in Italy, and people were so over it, they literally took the roof off the conclave, so they had to be exposed to the weather.
Oh my God.
And they lowered their meals to once a day,
that's
just water and bread.
gangster.
So they made a decision.
My favorite
So I
moment
don't-
in European history was that time where there were 3 popes, all of whom claimed to be the legitimate pope, head of the true church, and they excommunicated the other 2.
Yeah.
And, went to war.
That
over
was
it.
actually very common. It's very rare that now we have one pope. There used to be a pope and an anti-pope. And they will
backup
kill it.
pope?
Yeah, they will kill each other.
And the secret pope.
Yeah, that's fun. Bring that back.
Pope
That's
duels.
fun.
And there's a secret pope,
duels.
too.
It'll be like a new
Pope duel.
series.
Oh, but like the slap contest, I would watch like UFC.
That's how you determine.
Anyway, guys, what?
But I think it's the best interest of the planet Earth for these people to be enlightened by God and to make a great decision that will further Christian values in the planet. Like, we might not look eye to eye on everything with the Protestants, but I think having a strong leader of Christianity on the world, how it's turning out, what's happening in Canada, what's happening everywhere, I think it's the best interest for the world.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be praying for
Pray-
them to make the right decision and to have someone that's going to be a net positive in every topic.
Well, I pray too, because the last guy towards the end, his last stretch was not good.
Well,
Go
I'm
ahead,
going to say,
Keith.
all jokes aside, I think we've now seen the consequences of living in a godless society. So whether or not you are religious or consider yourself to be religious, we can see the value of living in a God-filled society and what degenerates in a godless society.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.